and Frida Reba Darcy here. Today on the Bonsai Balcony, we have ourselves one absolutely beautiful, cool California day. And what we're looking at is a little tray of Mame Japanese black pines. And quick pan around to my little dog in the dark there, Frida Reba Darcy. And then we're gonna swing back around. Also, I've moved things around to make this shot possible. So I've got these little canyon trees and a formal upright and a literati Japanese black pine hanging out next to me for a little while, at least until we get through using their space in their table. Just a quick look here. I wanted to give you guys a little look at the Mame black pines that we've done in the past. These are just a couple of our namesakes, and this little guy here, pretty heavily wired. It is in one of Elizabeth Crutendon's unglazed pots, and it got its needles cut. I mean, not its needles cut, but it did that. It got bud selected, some buds selection, some candle cutting happened with that guy earlier this year, as did this one, and we can see some of the 3-year needles are starting to get a little ratty looking, but we can also see those dark green new shoots coming out on this guy. Focus. This is 2 years in the making, this little guy is, and it's about time for these guys to start getting their bio-gold again. But I think the look at the work and how all that's just swelling up, and we've got a couple of years in this tree. This is not so far this hasn't been, now just a couple of years and you can have these really cool bonsai trees. This little Japanese black pine is eating its wires, and that's fine by us. It looks like it's just got huge, it's just swelling up so much between all those wires that are in there. And I just love the way the tree is turning out and the way the trunk is turning out. And again, we have a couple of years in this, and that guy is in one of Elizabeth Crutendon spots. I can clean this up some of these needles coming out of the bottom. I should probably clean those back. And there's a little bit of yellowing going on here too. No big deal. In fact, that's an old piece of bio-gold that I didn't pick up for some reason. It's time to lay back down the fertilizer for these guys and start feeding them again, which is kind of why we might see a little bit of yellowing this time of year. Our 3rd-year needles are getting ready to say, yeah, thanks for the fish, we're out of here. And then otherwise it has been, they have not been fed since we went through candle cutting season. So it's about time to go back on their, about time to go back on their little regimented feeding. But who doesn't really look yellow? Even this little guy always, I don't want to jinx it, but this little guy always outgreens the greenest little tree. It's just a phenomenal little tree, and I really enjoy watching it develop and watching it grow. This has been a very rewarding experience bringing this little Mame along. Now, the other night we did this guy. And you can see the weenie skewer that I've got sticking in there, but it was up on stilts, kind of on its own, holding itself up there. And I just didn't want it to be that loose and bobbly on the root. And I'm looking at it. I love the way this turned out. There is a lot to love about this. But I'm also thinking that a good hedge my bet on this would probably be to pack some peat moss around that base, and let the little bit of roots that are hiding in that plug there have a place to escape and fan out and make that base wider. That would probably be, you see what we're looking at there, you can see that's a chunk of the old plug. And there's probably still viable roots that would grow out of that if they could find a place out of the light to do so. So maybe if I throw a little peat moss down there and pile that up around the base, up to that, we can encourage that base to fatten up. Otherwise, I'm already happy with that. Those roots that are going into the ground, except for the one weenie skewer, but there's already some weenie skewer size roots on their own. And those guys will become fat and get bark on them, and they'll be impressive. They'll be impressive in their own right if given the chance. So this was an opportunity to slow our roll a little bit and show you what we did on this guy and how we're doing on these guys. We've been potting up some stuff lately, but a lot of that stuff, my camera is still set a little wide, and it's kind of hard to focus in on where we are with the little things, with that going on. So, also, let's see if we can get that sky back. Okay. You can see our bald cypress trees are starting from the inside out. The parts of the trees that are getting the less light are starting to do a fall colors. We are a good cold snap away from the 3 trees going that beautiful red rust color all at once. If we don't get a little fall, crispy shot, then it'll just kind of slowly but surely kind of die off like it's doing now from the inside out. As it's not getting as much sun on the inside, that'll cast off, and later on these things up here, or these things that are getting good light, will be the last to get the signal to pack and leave. But I'm not going to prune anything back on this tree until everything is turned its red color. For all the growth that we've gotten this year, and for all the growth that we've achieved out of the new leader that I cut on a couple of these to kind of accelerate things, there has been a good commitment from the tree to produce, and everything that it produced was an expenditure of its energy and its resources. And I would like to see the tree get a return on all of those resources until the foliage drops. And when the foliage drops, you got to say, okay, we're no longer photosynthesizing. We've got all we're going to make. And at that point, I'll go through and decide which of those two bar branches is the keeper. And actually, that's a whirlwind because there's 3 of them there. And I'll times all the way down, all 3 trees. And that's kind of, gonna let all that foliage, all these little fronds that are in the right places, and all these little fronds that are in the wrong places, and some of them were bar branches, and some of them were whirlwinds. But I knew that when the foliage dropped, and we were just looking at the skeletal or the lattice of these trees, that it would be a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier to make our selections as to the appropriate, ladder steps, and also that would kind of play into them getting the maximum amount out of their chlorophyll and the maximum amount of gain out of what's going on. And again, those bumps, you know, people will point out those little fronds that are coming up, you know, all up and down. And every one of these could be a limb. And every limb, every frond could be a limb. And every limb could be a new leader. But to such an extent that even these fronds, all of these little bumps, and it's just like it's prolific, and that's why I use the word goosebumps, because there's just so many of them. Those are all buds or limbs in waiting, and that's why if you allocate something to be one of your new favorite little forever for as of this year branches, and come spring it doesn't come back because it was too little to survive, even though maybe it changed colors or something, don't worry about it. You're going to get 20 more chances, probably this very year. Our guys are starting to look green, but you can also, I'm starting to see a little bit of yellow. This is what I was talking about, a combination. This is my Japanese black pine, 20-year from seed. What I'm seeing here is a little bit of yellow from a couple of things. Third-year needles, that's what they're on there. They're getting ready to hit the road. Also, there's some really bright green dew candles in there, which tells us everything's fine with what's going on now. But also, the second-year needles are looking a little off color, and that is going back to the no fertilizer thing. This is our tray of seedlings. These are our future little mames and show hens or whatever else they're going to be. We just recently went through and weeded all those guys, and then the other night we went through and weeded all of these guys. How did you come back that fast? The weeder didn't do a good job, is what I'm thinking. Oh my God. It's a bonsai clover. So this has been super, super, super rewarding. And this is stocked for days. I mean, that's just more stuff. Now, what we were just talking about, and I think you can probably see those colors now pretty good. What we were just talking about a few minutes ago with our Bald Cypress and those colors, I'm not really seeing that change of color yet on the Bald Cypress's cousin, the Dawn Redwood. It too